Meet Serena, your virtual companion for emotional support. The ultimate safe space to discuss your thoughts, your fears, and the ups and downs of daily life. Start your free trial today at serena.chat.
Am I the asshole for telling my roommates they shouldn't have a baby? I, 22F, have lived with my roommates, ERM127F and RM230 for nearly 3 years. They got married in May and are expecting their first baby in December. We all co-signed a lease and are still contracted another 8 months, 6 months after the baby's due. I for one adore children and even work in a childcare center. My roommates have always been incredibly lazy. I cook everyone's meals, clean the dishes, vacuum, mow the lawns and pick up after their dog that is always pooing inside and gets into everything. I also agreed to an outside pet and we are not met to have any according to our lease agreement. All of our friends were excited about the pregnancy and I was at first too. But now I'm filled with dread. At this point it's important to note that RM2 hasn't held a steady job in 3 years. So they always tight on money, unless the spending benefits them. While ERM1 has 2 jobs, but is always off, sick. I use sick, as this was an issue even before the pregnancy. There have been multiple occasions where I have had to cover their rent and groceries, and I've never been paid back. ERM1 spends most of her time laying in bed, complains that she's too ill to work or help around the house, but is okay to go out 3 nights a week and continues to play weekend sports. And RM2 always has an excuse to why he's not helping, or we'll get to it later. As a result, I'm completely burned out from maintaining the house, working 2 jobs, studying and looking after my 27-30-year-old children. Whenever someone offers them any advice or assistance during the pregnancy, they'll reply, "But OP will help with the baby." And the closer it gets to baby's due date, the more they shift the responsibility of their unborn child onto me. OP will babysit, OP will buy this, that, etc. And the comment that pushed me over the edge was, "If we're too tired, we'll move the cot into OP's room, she can deal with it." To which I replied they shouldn't have a baby when they can't look after themselves, and that I refuse to responsible for their kid. This made RM1 cry, but I don't feel bad, it was long overdue to be said. But they're now mad at me saying that I'm too young to know the stress of having kids. Half our mutual friends are on my side, and the other half are just mad that I said it, rather about what I said. Am I the asshole? The easiest solution would be to move out, but currently everything in my area is out of my price range. I've even applied for a few places on my own but am unfortunately unsuccessful due to lack of rental history, and the one I do have is ruined due to their dog being inside, despite countless efforts to move him into the yard. Update. I've had a lot of comments, so I'll post to answer as many questions as possible. My cooking was never meant to be for everyone. I would offer if there were plenty of leftovers or if it was a planned meal for the house. They were supposed to do dishes after but never would. For the main part one would cook my own meals, but they would always eat my leftovers or use my ingredients before I could. And to the burn, I've never seen them cook anything, so I don't know what they used my food for. They usually order out. I've now resulted to living on girl dinners. I cook myself food that doesn't require much effort or ingredients: nuggets, pies, pizzas, pastas. I don't make leftovers, which has led to me now not eating at work as I don't have food for lunches. ERM1 and I both work at the same daycare. RM1 is actually my manager. Which I think is why I've put up with this for so long, as I worried about creating tension at work, and I love my job. This also means I don't leave lunches as work, as she has helped herself to those in the past as well. We moved in together as my roommates were living with ERM1's parents and I had been homeless, living out of my car and couch surfing for 7 months at 18. I'd previously lived with my mother, 6 younger siblings, and abusive stepfather. I grew up raising myself and my siblings, which is probably why I'm easy manipulated into looking after others that aren't my responsibility. This whole situation has been so stressful for me, and still value them as friends but don't want to live with them anymore. Our original plan was find someone cheaper together that they could afford on their own, but this morning I've told them they need to find a place for the 2 of them and I'll look for my own. Not the asshole, but it's a bit ridiculous that you've tolerated all of this till now. Why? You should have left them ages ago. Given that it's October now and the baby is due in December, this seems like shutting the barn door after the horse has bolted. You're right, but you're effectively giving them advice that requires a time machine. At this point they basically have a kid. You might find it more useful to say things like, "No, I won't help with that," or "I won't be doing that." blunt, to the point, and doesn't directly state that their previous bundle was a big mistake. Not the asshole. Look for another roommate situation. Look in newspapers, online. Ask around from friends if they know anything. Then tell the landlord that you would like to remove yourself from the lease as you can't afford to pay all the rent anymore when there are 2 other able-bodied people living there. And also tell the landlord about the animals. Not the asshole. You need to stop picking up their slack. If you continue to, they're going to think not doing anything is okay. Secondly, never pay their rent. You are not a human ATM. Not the asshole, but you are not a roommate, you are an unpaid servant. You have created this ridiculous situation, therefore you need to undo it by saying no and stopping enabling this ludicrous arrangement. Would I be the asshole if I questioned why my 7-yo wasn't invited to a birthday party? So, first some backstory context. My son is 7 and his best friend, who we'll call George, have been friends for 4 years. They've both been to each other's b-day parties the last few years. I'm a single mom and my son is my only child, so whenever I take him somewhere, skate park, swimming, the park, the fair, local water park, etc., I always invite George to come so my son has someone other than just me to have fun with. We've also been invited to events at their house as well. We live across the street, so the boys are always playing together either here or there. They pretty much do everything together. On to the issue. George's b-day is this Thursday, so I was expecting to hear about his party soon. Last week I even asked him what he wanted, present-wise. Well, yesterday my son wanted to go outside and play and OFC went over to ask if George could come outside. George's dad answered the door and said that he wasn't home. Okay, no biggie. My son came back home and decided to do something else for a bit. After a little while I offered to go out front with my son to play since it was so nice outside. When we went out, our other neighbors were out too. They have a daughter that my son likes to play with too. So my son asked if she could come out and play. That's when the bomb dropped. Her mom said that she was at George's b-day party. And asked why we weren't there. Now apparently their daughter, in her mother's words, invited herself to go and George's family said yes. So I thought, well, maybe this party was just for family and he'll have another party for his friends to come to. George has a pretty big family and they've done stuff like that before. So I figured I'd ask George today when I get him and my son from the bus stop. So today, during our walk, I asked George if he was having another party for friends and he said, no. Now according to him, my son was supposedly invited. Since hearing that, I've checked my phone to see if I missed a text or a call, which I haven't. I checked through our mailbox to see if I missed an invitation, and didn't find anything. I also thought back to yesterday when my son went over to ask if George could come outside and all his dad said was that he wasn't home, deliberately leaving out that the party was about to happen soon, wherever it was taking place. Now my son's feelings are hurt. Heck, my feelings are hurt. I'm also pretty sure there's no bad blood because earlier today his dad texted me for a favor. So would I be the asshole if I asked his family why my son wasn't invited? ETA. Thank all of you for your replies. I read them all. Sorry I didn't reply to all Blue Heart. It seems the vast majority say not the asshole, and that finding out the reason is the best thing to do. I was honestly surprised to see how many people asked for an update. I'm planning on talking to George's mom tomorrow. After I hear what she says, I will edit in an update. Reading all your comments helped get perspective. Thank y'all for that. I was looking at this like no matter how I approached it, it would be confrontation. But one commenter only comment was, communication is not confrontation. I thought this was a wonderful way to look at things. Unfortunately, growing up, I didn't learn good communication. Anyway, thank you all again. And we'll update tomorrow. Good night everyone. Smile. Not the asshole. But why haven't you already asked? You don't need us to tell you to do it. Go knock on the door and ask outright why your son wasn't invited. So I figured I'd ask George today when I get him and my son from the bus stop. I'm also pretty sure there's no bad blood because earlier today his dad texted me for a favor. Not the asshole, but I wonder why you still do them favors like get their son from the bus stop, and whatever they are texting you to do. Why WNBTA? I'd do it in person. Especially because they're your neighbor, pretty easy. And just be nonchalant. Did my kid do anything he needs to apologize for, etc. For all we know there's a lesson to be learned here, or something slipped through, or something down the line. They're 7, it's not like we're wading into a complex social pool with incredibly pressing problems. Question. Dewey thinks it's weird that George's dad wasn't at his birthday party? This whole situation sounds weird. Not the asshole just say something like, "Hey, the neighbor mentioned George already had his b-day party. Did I miss the invitation? So sorry to miss it if you were expecting us." Just make sure you sound apologetic and not sarcastic. If they outright say he wasn't invited, I'd ask if there's something that happened that you need to address with your kid. If it turns out there was nothing and they just didn't invite him, I'd start distancing myself. It's more complicated since they're right across the street, but it's manageable. Am I the asshole for giving my granddaughter most out of my will? This is an anonymous account. I'm 65 and terminally ill. My husband passed many years ago. I have 2 children, one son named Michael, and another named William. Michael is very distant and has always been a wanderer. He has not walked a straight path and lives a life with little to no obligations, responsibility. His daughter, Lily, 19, is very close with me and is currently working 2 jobs and going to nursing school. We recently found out that she's expecting her first child. She has nothing to lean on as her father is mostly uninvolved. Her mother is also estranged and not in her life. William is the exact opposite of his brother. He's lived a very admirable, typical life thus far. His stepdaughter, only child, is almost 27 now. She has a very large financial cushion as well as a large family on her mother's side to fall back on. We are not close and she was never interested in maintaining a relationship with me. She came into our lives as a late teenager and was civil, but not affectionate. I have no ill will for her. She's a very smart and hardworking woman, but we just don't have that same bond or tie. When drawing up my will and last wishes, I made sure to leave something to everyone. Be it family heirlooms or silly keepsakes, everyone will have something to remember me by. Michael's stepdaughter will receive vintage books that I know she appreciates as we've communicated about it before. She's very into collectibles and reading. She does not want or need money. Lily will receive most of my savings and money. I do not trust Michael with large sums and William is not in need of it. Lily is very much in debt and struggling, and I know that she would benefit from the boost to eventually buy a house and pay for her child's needs. This decision was not made lightly and I fully trust her to use the money wisely. William and his wife do not approve of the decision, not their place, but it is taking a toll on me emotionally. They believe that their daughter deserves more, if not half, of what I've decided to give to Lily. Their daughter herself does not care and is grateful for what she's been allocated for the day I inevitably go. It's causing a rift in the family and is taking a severe toll on my emotional and physical health. I do not know exactly how much time I have left, just that it's not much, and this is not how I envisioned my final months going. I've heard that they're making plans to try and contest the will when I do pass. I know that there's no room for such things and that it is bulletproof, but it's extremely hurtful. Am I the asshole? Could I have divided this any better? Edit. I did not proofread. Listed William as Michael in the last paragraph. Fixed. Edit 2. I'm beyond disgusted by the comments ridiculing my granddaughter's choices. She is an abuse survivor who had no choice in her becoming pregnant but made the brave choice to keep her child. Your view on my personal decisions should have nothing to do with the circumstances in which my great-grandchild was conceived. She is indeed working to better herself after being dealt a bad hand and is very strong. I understand that this is a subreddit for making judgment, but seeing such blatantly rude comments about my granddaughter and her child is extremely saddening. Not the asshole. And shame on your son and Dill for being so rude during this time. This is your money to do with as you choose. There is no need for discussion. I'm not getting into his stepdaughter being advocated for when she isn't close to you or even cares. This is ridiculous. I wish you peace and contentment. Not the asshole. It's your money and you decide where it goes. You only have one grandchild, you have every right to leave it all to her. Not the asshole. A very thoughtful and considered will. My advice to anyone is to not say what is in your will so that there can be no arguments while you are still here. Is it possible to pay off some of Lily's debt now? It avoids at least that dollar being fought over. The bulletproof will is a good idea, but why not allow yourself to see Lily's gratitude while you are alive? Not the asshole. Your son and his wife need to learn the subtle art of minding their own business and accept what you're leaving for everyone as it is your stuff, your choice. The child they are saying it's not fair about doesn't even want the money and have no need for it compared to the other child. You're fine, they are the assholes here. Am I the asshole for telling my friend's Mill I don't care what she wants? My 24 female best friend, 26 female, is engaged and has asked me to be her wedding coordinator. I plan events for a living and the wedding is in a year and a half. When my friend, Dee, and her fiancé, Ray, asked me to coordinate, I set up a dinner with the bride, groom and their parents. Dee, Ray and I had been discussing the potential budget for what they had envisioned. Dee's parents are putting up 1/3 of the money and Dee and Ray are putting up another 1/3. Ray's mother said she couldn't afford to help with the wedding and Dee's father assured everyone that his father, Dee's grandfather, stated he wanted to help with whatever other expenses were needed. I informed everyone that my job was to please the bride and groom and I would not under any circumstances go against their wishes or make a decision without their consent. At the time everyone seemed to be on the same page. Fast forward 6 months to last week. Dee and I settled on centerpieces for the table settings. I was at the store picking up material when I ran into Ray's mother. We started chatted and I showed her the centerpiece idea. A lot of what we're doing is DIY to cut cost. Mill made a face and said she didn't like that and had her own ideas for what we could do. I told her I didn't quite care. If she wanted to tell Dee her ideas and Dee tells me she'd like to change the centerpieces, I'd do what I needed to do, otherwise I needed to go. A few days later I got a call from Ray saying I was out of line and if his mother wanted a certain kind of centerpiece then I should have brought that to Dee, not told his mother I didn't care about her wants for the wedding. I asked Ray what Dee had to say and he said she couldn't talk right now but he was sure she agreed. I've known Dee since we were 12 and she's never had a problem telling me when I am wrong. Dee's mother called me and said I was being a bit of an asshole. Dee won't answer my calls and I keep getting a call from an unknown number who I am assuming is Ray's mother. I think I did exactly what I would have wanted someone else to do, especially knowing my mother likes to butt in where she has no say. But maybe I could have said it nicer? Am I the asshole? Edit. I work in event planning, not wedding planning. I am not getting paid to do this. I was asked by my friend. Being tact is not a part of my job. The person who pays for the event gets an opinion and that's all. I've had one instance like this in my professional life and I handled it the same way. I've been told trying to be polite can sometimes come off as being a doormat or that person may think they can get away with bullying me into the idea. Just for the people who keep mentioning I need to be more professional in my job update. Spoke to Dee this morning. She's not upset with me at all. She specially asked me to be the coordinator because she knew I'd be blunt with anyone about what the plans are. She spoke to Ray and apparently his mother and her opinions has been a long-standing argument. She had not gotten back to me because she'd been questioning a lot of other issues stemming from the same problem. I told her I can step down or have a one-on-one with the mill to apologize for my tone and reiterate my purpose. Not the asshole, but perhaps a bit of tact would have prevented this. I completely agree that Ray's mother, and in fact anyone who isn't Dee or Ray, has no right to make decisions unilaterally, but from what you've said, all she did was make suggestions. And you told her you didn't care. Something like, I'm sure you can appreciate. Dee and Ray are the only ones who can change the plan, but I am sure if you tell them your ideas, they will incorporate them if they like them. But as I said at the beginning, I won't be doing anything which goes against their wishes or that they haven't explicitly asked for. I know you'll understand. If Dee isn't answering your calls, I'd be concerned about that. If she carries on ghosting you, pull out of organizing the wedding for her. It's not worth the shit being hurled your way, friend or otherwise. Not the asshole. If Dee won't answer the phone, you can't plan a wedding for her. I suggest emailing her and stepping down. If she wants to continue with your services, she can contact you, but I think this friendship is probably over. While I understand why you told Mill you didn't care, if you plan events for a living, you surely know that tact is key. Everyone sucks here, you for not being more tactful, Dee for not talking to you and ignoring your calls. You are the asshole, not for your stance, but for how you said it. You'd think that working with clients, you'd have learned to be more careful about your phrasing. There are very polite ways to disagree with someone and now you've created an issue where there might not have been one. I've seen this situation before. Not the asshole. May I suggest in future that you agree on a password with the bride? That way, when people other than your client call to make changes saying they were approved, you can say you will make those changes if the contracted client gives the password approval. This approach has lessened the headaches of my friend in her business.